All right. Welcome. I am going to start by reading a letter from the governor. It's September 17, 2025, and in my opinion, way overdue. I am pleased to nominate Atty. Coleman to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. I submit this nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm enclosing the nominee's resume for your convenience. Sincerely, Maura T. Healy. Do you have a copy of this?
Yes, I don't have it on me, but
If you don't, we'll make sure you have one. All right. So we're going to start by introducing the councilors that are currently present. Councilor DiPaolo, we have Councilor Jacobs, Councilor Dolan, and Councilor Civil. Others are filtering in. We'll be here. Now, we're going to start by calling your first witness, the Honorable Allison Cartwright, Clerk of the Supreme Judicial Court. That sounds really important.
It does.
it is.
Please, go ahead. And do not forget the most important law of the land, the law of brevity.
Okay. I have been so informed. So good morning, counselors. As you know, I am Allison S. Cartwright, Clerk of the Supreme Judicial Court for the County of Suffolk. And it is indeed an honor to come before you to offer my support of Governor Maura Healey's judicial nomination of Tonomey A. Coleman to the Massachusetts District Court. Know that I wholeheartedly endorse Tonomey Coleman. I have known Tonomey for over 30 years. It's been that long. As a law school class.
Third grade.
Exactly. As a law school classmate, a law partner, and most importantly, a dear and trusted friend. We first met on the campus of Boston College Law School in the fall of 1989. Law school experience was connected through classes, holding offices in the BC Law Chapter of the Black Law Students Association, and studying together for the bar exam the summer we graduated. About 5 years into our respective careers as young lawyers, we took the bold step of opening our law practice, Cartwright and Coleman, Attorneys at Law. The hours were long and the money was short. We set out to establish a law firm that would offer representation in many areas: criminal defense, business law, family law, employment and labor law. As relatively youngish attorneys, we were very eager and ambitious. But let me tell you something more about Tonomey's character during this particular time period. While we were in the trenches of establishing a practice in the heart of Boston, Tonomey volunteered with the Big Brother, Big Sisters organization. When I asked him why he was doing this now of all times, he simply responded that he was needed in the Black community, and this was the best way for him to contribute where he could make a difference in someone's life. This is the common thread of Tonomey throughout his entire career. Another thing happened during this time. Tonomey, who had a very strong experience in civil law, then became very much engaged in criminal defense. As a bar advocate, he moved quickly from doing district court cases to superior court cases. He never shied away from challenging cases and clients charged with serious felonies. He expanded his criminal defense into the federal level, where he was on the CJA list. Whether in state court or federal court, Tonomey earned a reputation as a strong, meticulous, highly regarded advocate. Governor's Council confirmed him to the Massachusetts Parole Board, not once, not twice, but on 3 occasions. He has served under Governors Patrick, Baker, and now Governor Healey. As a member of the Parole Board, Tonomey served with dedication, compassion, and respect of the rule of law. He is a man who simply gets it when it comes to the intersection of law, humanity, community, and dignity. To break this down, law. He gets the law. Tonomey has a keen and curious intellect that allows him to approach legal issues from many angles. In looking for answers, he is tireless in his research. We want that in our judges. Humanity. Tonomey gets what it means to be human. He knows that humans will do amazing things, encounter obstacles, make good decisions, and poor choices. His lived experiences have taught him to pause and when to pause and when to forge ahead. We need this in our judges. Community. As someone who actively engages in many spheres, Tonomey has placed himself in many communities. From the one-on-one volunteer work, as I told you earlier, as a big brother, to committing himself to serve as president of the Massachusetts Black Lawyers Association, to volunteering to help law graduates study for the bar exam, to mentoring young attorneys on their cases, and to assisting new law students navigate their studies. We call upon judges to involve themselves in many communities. Dignity. Tonomey's respect for the dignity of the people of Massachusetts has been on brilliant display for over 12 years through his service as a member of the Parole Board. Here, he has worked tirelessly to represent all people involved in matters that come before the Parole Board. The incarcerated, the victims of crimes, the families, friends, interested individuals and groups, and the communities that are all affected and impacted by the work of what the Parole Board does. Each is given a voice and the opportunity to be heard. This is what we require in our judges. Closing, probably your favorite part here, because you have all that you need before you in Tonomey Coleman to confirm him as a judge. I can attest with the utmost of confidence that Tonomey Coleman is among the most dedicated of public servants who will do us all proud to be seated as a judge in the district court. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to call Amy Belger, attorney.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Amy Belger, and I have been a parole practitioner since 2014. I graduated from BC Law School a year behind Tonomey and Allison, and I have come today to speak in support of Tonomey with my paralegal, Robert Foxworth, who partners with me in my parole practice, as well as 3 of our Mattis clients that have all been released on parole this year, thanks to the tremendously hard work of our parole board. They are Charlie Brown, Kevin Francis, and Evans August. We all support the governor's nomination of board member Coleman to the district court bench. At his governor's council hearing in 2013, Tonomey said that part of what prepared him to be an attorney is his working class background and being street smart enough to know there's always an untold story. Most of all, at that time, he said he wanted the governor's council to know that he promised to observe and assess before he, as he put it, flexes his muscles. After appearing before the board in 20 lifer hearings, I can attest to the fact that Tonomey has kept that promise. He is very prepared for lifer hearings. He conducts business with a demeanor that is professional and also respectful. He has a reputation for asking the tough questions. In fact, when I told one of my clients who is held in MCI Norfolk that I was testifying here today, he said to me, "Everybody here knows that when you go before the board, that is the board member that is going to ask you the tough questions. He does not play, and we respect it. It is serious business, and those questions need to be asked, and they need to be answered." It is a diversity of life experience and professional experience that make Tonomey highly qualified for a district court judgeship. The district courts, through the judiciary, can provide strength to the citizens in crisis. To achieve this objective, judges must convey empathy, engender respect for the law, and even-handedly balance the needs of the individual with those of the community. More than 12 years of service on the parole board has prepared Tonomey to do just that, and I have gotten a preview of the qualities he will bring to the bench as a practitioner before him at parole. For example, in April of this year, a Mattis cohort member appeared before the board for his hearing, full of anxiety and nerves. English was his second language. He had just learned to write English during his incarceration. His mother only had a third-grade education, and he left school in Puerto Rico when he was 7 years old. When he arrived in Springfield, he resumed school where he was bullied, assaulted, and ultimately failed the 6th grade. After answering all of Board Member Coleman's questions, Tonomey spontaneously offered this feedback to that man. So, the other thing I'll say, just a comment. I was impressed when I read your autobiography. It gave me a lot to think about. But your presentation here today is even more impressive. You came across as very educated. You came across with a lot of empathy. You said all the right things in my estimation. So I just wanted you to know that I will give you due consideration. That man received his positive parole vote last week. And that feedback meant the world to that man. When Tonomey, from his elevated position, offered these words of encouragement, he conveyed respect, acknowledgement, and praise. He brought dignity to the parole process, and he uplifted a person who had never received such feedback before. I am confident that Tonomey will bring that approach to public service to the district court bench, and it will make him a strong asset to the judiciary. Thank you for allowing me to be heard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the witness? Thank you. That will exhaust the, the witnesses in favor of the nominee. Is there anyone in opposition? There being no one in opposition, excuse me. At this time, we'll hear from you, Tonomey. And before you start, if you'd like to introduce any family or friends, you can do that at this point.
Sure, good morning. I'd like to introduce, Allison and Amy, my supporters, my wife Natasha is here. My daughter couldn't be here today. She actually has an exam. She's in the 11th grade and she was pretty anxious about making sure she doesn't miss out on anything.
You told me I could have continued it.
Yes, so I just want to thank all my supporters, obviously, the gentlemen who've appeared here in support of me as well. So that's pretty much it. If I could begin with my opening statement. Good morning, Chairman Iannella and honorable members of the Governor's Council. First, I want to express my deep gratitude to Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, nominating me to serve as a judge of the district court. It is an honor of a lifetime. I want to thank their outstanding legal staff, particularly attorneys Boodoo and Castleheim, for their guidance and support. They shepherded me through this process with care. I am grateful for their professionalism every step of the way. I want to thank Ms. Alta Marino of your office for her assistance with this process. I also thank my wife, Natasha, for her support and encouragement throughout the years. And of course, I want to thank Allison and Amy for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here and speak. My path to this moment began long before my legal career. I was born in Jamaica, and I am the proud son of hardworking immigrant parents who came to this country seeking opportunity. They arrived with very little, but we brought with them determination, resilience, and faith. They believed that if they worked hard, their children would have opportunities they never had. I especially want to thank my parents for their sacrifices. They are now quite elderly and live in Florida. And while they are here with me today, I know they are here in spirit. Everything I have achieved rests on the foundation they laid. Those lessons, discipline, perseverance, and service to others have guided me throughout my career. 19 years I served as a lawyer in the district courts across the Commonwealth, but especially in the district court. I have tried numerous criminal cases there, and through that work, I have come to know the pace and flow of those courts well. I have worked alongside judges, colleagues, clerks, probation officers, and court staff. Those experiences gave me a deep respect, not only for the law, but for people who make our courts function each day. District Court, as you know, is truly a community court. It is where the public has its first and sometimes only direct experience with the justice system. It is where decisions are made that impacts lives immediately and profoundly. That reality has always resonated with me. It is why I believe so strongly that a district court judge must not only know the law, but also bring to the role qualities of patience, accessibility, fairness, and compassion. At the same time, a judge must be decisive and firm when justice requires it. In my view, perception of justice is just as important, or the perception of fairness, I should say, is just as important as fairness itself. Justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done so that everyone who comes before the court feels heard and respected. Only when fairness and the perception of fairness work together can we build trust in our court system. Beyond my trial experience, I have also had the privilege of serving the Commonwealth for the past 12 years as a member of the Massachusetts Parole Board, and more recently as acting chair. That role has broadened my perspective on justice. It required me to weigh not only the seriousness of the offenses and the need for accountability, but also the potential for rehabilitation, the importance of second chances, and the responsibility to ensure public safety. Those experiences reminded me again and again that our justice system is not only about enforcing the law, it is also about recognizing the humanity in every person. Public service has been the cornerstone of my career. Whether in the courtroom or on the parole board, I have tried to approach every decision with humility, diligence, respect for the dignity of others. If confirmed, I will bring those same values to the bench. My commitment is to serve the people of Massachusetts with fairness, integrity, and compassion, and to ensure that all who enter the district court trust that they will be heard and treated with respect. Thank you for your time, for your thoughtful consideration, and for allowing me the privilege of appearing before you here today.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll hear from the councilors. Councilor Terry Kennedy.
How many times have I voted for you?
3.
I can't see why I should change my mind now. We've been waiting for you. I know you've been, have applied in the past. I've always encouraged Governor, whoever it was, that you'd be a great candidate for the bench. They're aware that I did that. I know that. But I'm gonna ask you just a couple of questions, a couple of things that have come up recently that I've seen. One has to do with bail. I recently saw a case that came into my office, actually, that was a serious case. It was and I'm gonna ask you what you would do with bail in this case. It's a serious case. It was an OUI, serious bodily injury case. Serious injuries. Guy with no record. Family, job. What would you do for bail in that circumstance? The DA asked for $100,000, say. No record, serious injury to the victim. What are you gonna do with it?
Well, I mean, I would consider all the circumstances. Obviously, it's a serious case, but that should.
All the circumstances. Drunk driving case,
Yeah.
accused of drunk driving, hit somebody who got seriously injured, no record. That's all you need to know. Well, let me ask you, what's the purpose of putting a cash bail on? I'm not talking about a 58.
The purpose of putting bail is to ensure they're going to return to court, and you have to acknowledge the offense itself, but it's really a public safety issue as well.
No, it's not. And here's why. A public safety issue, they're gonna file a 58A. It's dangerous, okay, right? You're familiar with those, obviously.
Yes.
We wanna file it, it's not filed. It's just a cash bail to see if he's gonna return to court. That's the purpose of bail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how much money in that circumstance do you think it would take for somebody to ensure that they come back to court?
Well, I think if it's, I think it should be minimum.
I agree with you.
I don't think it should be $100,000, especially with.
I agree with you 100%. I don't necessarily see the correlation between people putting money up and whether they're gonna return to court. You know, I see people getting held that have no money, they're stuck in jail because they can't come up with $500. That shouldn't happen, in my opinion, okay? This particular judge, and I wasn't there, I just saw the case the other day, put a $25,000 cash bill on this guy. And I'm looking at him saying, this guy's not going anywhere. It's somebody who missed the mark in terms of what the purpose of bail is, it's to ensure your appearance. You don't need $25,000 cash for this guy. It was an accident that.
Totally agree with you,
Very
Counselor.
credible case, by the way, but that's a different issue.
I do believe bail should be reasonable.
I think that should have been a person, in my opinion, or a nominal bail. But I don't get a lot of states are doing away with cash bail. Are you aware of that?
Yes, yes, that's something that's been happening, that started happening a lot after the George Floyd matter.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I just don't get the correlation between a cash bail and someone coming to court. That's not what brings someone to court. They're gonna flee, they're gonna flee. That's my opinion. Okay, 58 A's. I know you haven't been in the district court for a little while. You have a great deal of experience there. Well-qualified candidate, no question. But do you think they're overused, dangerousness hearings by prosecutors?
I think they can be overused.
I think they overused a lot. And one of the problems that happens is that a prosecutor files a 58A on someone and judges feel that they have to hold them for at least 3 days. That's not true. You don't have to hold them for 3 days. You can put the prosecutor's feet to the fire and say, let's do this today, this afternoon, okay? Because what my experience was, they lock people up for 3 days. 3 days later, the DA says, all right, we'll agree to conditions. For someone on a case that they never go to jail on, that they go spend 3 days in jail, and jail can be, as some of these folks know here in this room, a really traumatic experience for somebody, even if it's for a short period of time. You know, you're taking people's freedom away. How are you gonna handle those situations?
Well, I appreciate that question, and I can see your concern with that because we're talking about someone's liberty. And when you take someone away from their families, you're creating a lot of disruption. And if it's really not necessary to do that and you can address that matter as speedily as possible, I think it should be with those considerations in mind. So I would certainly be attentive to that. And I would hold the prosecutor's feet to the fire with respect to making sure that we can address these matters as speedily as possible if that's where they're going.
A+ answers. Like I said at the beginning, there's no reason you can change your mind. You're a superstar. You're gonna be a great judge. I'm all set. Thank you.
Counselor DiPaolo.
Thank you, Counselor. Good morning. Congratulations.
You.
We met in 2020, I think, early 2021. And as you know, I've been very supportive of you being in this chair you're in today for a long time.
Yes, and thank you for that, sir.
I'm very bittersweet because I thought there might be a chance for you to fill a need we had in Worcester. And you were, I was very impressed with the time you took to get to know the needs in Worcester and what that situation was. But I'm thrilled for you to be here today. I'm grateful to you for your service on the parole board, including as acting chair right now. The changes that have happened in the parole board in the time you've been on have been pretty substantial and difficult perhaps to navigate and quite a workload as well. From Mattis to change in places on the board to all the things that you dealt with. So I'm really impressed with you as a candidate. I'm excited to have you on the bench and I don't have any questions for
Can I
you.
say one more thing, Chair? Counselor DiPaolo has been a big supporter of yours for years. He's been pushing for you to get on the bench for years. But you have an even bigger supporter here, which is Counselor Ionel, who's always supported for the whole time that you've been coming before us.
Thank you. Counselor Jacobs.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations. I share the congratulations, but also the enthusiasm. I've had the pleasure of being able to visit parole board a few times, be able to observe life hearings, and the testimony shared by especially your witness, Amy, I've already forgotten your last name, I apologize. Rang fully true for me, having observed you in action at those hearings as well, and I really appreciated the testimony of both of your witnesses was very powerful to me. I had some questions. I'm gonna probably ask you those questions, but actually my first question comes out of Counselor Kennedy's questions. I really appreciated what he asked you and how he asked you, but the 58A area is where I want to pursue a little deeper. Are you familiar at all with the racial disparities that seem to be there's evidence that there's racial disparities in the 58A decisions and they impact people of color, men of color in particular, at a far larger degree than white defendants? Are you?
I'm aware, thank you for that question, Counselor. I am aware that there is a disparity. The specific numbers escape me at the moment, but
I just read it and I forgot, but they were astounding. It was like
Yeah.
3 times or something like that. I don't want to be quoted on exactly what it was. It was a high over like indexing at a very high rate over what white defendants are experiencing.
Yes.
So my question for you is on the bench, what, if anything, that awareness, what can that lead to from the bench?
Well, I think, and I appreciate that, because I think unfairness is not something that should be countenanced, and when you see it, you need to address it. I would certainly make sure that is addressed if I happen to see it. With respect to prosecutors bringing more dangerousness hearings with respect to people of color. And I would certainly push them on that as to why that is, and why is that case different from, let's say, another situation that's similar involving someone of another color, you know, a white individual versus, let's say, a Black or Hispanic. So I would certainly question that, and I would challenge them as to why that is. I think it's important for whenever a judge sees any sort of unfairness to address it, to point it out, and not just let it, you know, escape.
I mean, it speaks to the systemic bias, right? So it's one data point in a series of places where there's bias embedded in our justice system.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't even recognize that they're actually making those decisions. Sometimes it's important to alert them to it so that they can be more cognizant.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, my belief is that when there are people at the bench who are not shy about calling out when they perceive those sorts of trends can help be the counterbalance to those trends, can try to turn the tide. I'm like, because so much of it is unconscious, the more you actually bring it to consciousness and awareness, and a judge who cares that, you know, will be taking an eye, trends may change, data may shift. In your application, you mentioned your interest around increasing access to justice. You mentioned in a couple of places in the application. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about what in particular you had in mind when you're ways in which you could play a part in increasing access to justice. And as a corollary to that, we talked a little bit about this, I think, increasing for those who are coming from a place of trauma and bringing domestic violence or for whatever reason, where district court can feel like an unsafe space, how to increase procedurally or otherwise culturally the feeling of safe, that court is not a dangerous or a firmer for a further traumatizing space.
Yeah. And thank you for that concern, because that's something I think everyone needs to be aware of with respect to how parties feel when they come into court. We want everyone to feel safe, obviously. And I think as a judge, if you're aware and you're more attuned, you're aware of what's going on around you. I think you can fashion the environment in such a way that people feel more welcome and safe. And whether it be making sure that a victim coming into the court has a place where they can go, where they can feel safe and comforted and know that they won't encounter anyone who might be in opposition to them. I think that's important. I also think in terms of what you said about access to justice, we need to look at all the ways we can increase people's comfort with interacting with the court, whether it be through technology, for instance, allowing them to utilize video services where it's not an important hearing, if it's a status hearing or something where we're just moving a case along. We want to make the court more accessible to people so they don't have to disrupt their lives as much. So there's a lot of issues concerning childcare, work, and things that get disrupted when someone has to come to court. So I think a judge should be aware of those things, how we impact people's lives, and we should try to make the system as welcoming as possible so that they can participate.
No, I appreciate that. Last question, and then I'll let others go. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about how your experience in the parole board, particularly when you think about things like sentencing. How, because I have to assume you have quite a lot of experience visiting houses of corrections where district court is sentencing to. So just what, if any, impact that will have on how you conduct yourself on the bench?
I think we'll have a lot of impact, and I appreciate that question because the experience I've had on the parole board has taught me a lot about the criminal justice system. It's taught me a lot about what's available and what's not available, some of the needs that are glaring that needs to be addressed. For instance, there's a lot of individuals with mental health issues who are being warehoused in prisons, and they just don't belong there. So as far as sentencing is concerned, I would be factoring a lot of that into my decision, whether or not sentencing someone to a jail or a prison is the right move based upon what's driving their behavior. I think if you want rehabilitation or you want people to change, you have to figure out what's causing that behavior and try to find a way to directly address that. Of course, if there's a serious public safety concern, we can't ignore that either. And sometimes people do need a timeout just so that they can focus on addressing their issues. But I think where we can play a role, or the system can play a role, is that if you have to sentence someone, ensure that they're getting the services they need to make those changes. And I think my access to what's available within the parole system, as not just within the institutions themselves, but as far as reentry services, I think that'll be helpful. I think that'll help a lot in terms of how I think about sentencing and or dispositions on any particular.
No, I appreciate that. I'll stop there, but thank you for your time and your answers, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Civil.
Congratulations, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
Councilor Tara already asked my first question, but hopefully this is not redundant. My second question for you is, what insight did you gain about rehabilitation and public safety during your time on the parole board?
Quite a bit of insight. Thank you. Thank you for that question, because the time I've spent on parole allowed me a really good opportunity to observe what can happen when people have the opportunities and the services to make those changes. And sometimes just the time to think and reflect and make those changes. It's much more important that they have the services, or whether it be the ability to obtain their GED or to work on their addiction or whatever other issues it might have. I forgot what the second part of your question was.
No, just public safety during your time on the parole board. What insight did you gain? Rehabilitation.
Well, the insight I gained is that if the services are there and the person is of the mindset that they want to feel, then there can be significant change. And I've seen amazing change in some individuals where they've gotten educated, not just with the programs that are available, but in terms of doing some reading on their own and exploring things. The parole board is trying to enhance that there's access to a tablet with a lot of information on it, so that individuals who are motivated can actually access that. You know, educate themselves more. And some of them go as far as strategizing their entire lives while they're in there, in terms of setting up businesses, what they're going to do, and working with others in the community to get that started. So the most important takeaway for me is that if you have the services available, then the biggest thing you need to focus on is getting that individual to the point where they're willing to embrace it and try to utilize it to make themselves better. And I think the institutions play a huge role in that. We have to encourage individuals to take advantage of those things, not just have it there and say, well, have at it if you want. Yeah.
And I have one more question for you. Given your experience, how important is restorative justice to you?
Well, I think restorative justice is important in that it's healing for everyone, and it deals with accountability too. So I like the idea that victims are able to interact, if they choose, with the offender to get some closure. And I like the idea that the offenders are taking accountability and empathizing with the victims, and are focused on giving back, making penance, if you will, for what they've done. So I think it's a very healing process, and I love seeing it when I do.
Thank you so much. No other question.
Thank you, Counselor Dolan.
Thank you. I want you to know that I've been hearing good things about you for years, starting with former governor's counselor Eileen Duff, Counselor Kennedy, Counselor DiPaolo, and especially your own counselor INL have spoken very highly about you. I really appreciated your coming out to meet with me, enjoyed and appreciated the conversation tremendously. I also want to commend you for picking an extraordinary law partner in Allison Carver. You got excellent taste and excellent judgment. So I just want
So
to,
is me, actually.
you've both done good. I just want to talk a little bit more about sentencing, and I thank Counselor Jacobs for first raising that issue. Because when we met, you had some really thoughtful remarks about it. I had asked you, and I thank you for your service on the parole board, about how that experience impacted your view of sentencing. And you talked about how sometimes folks just need to get a message, and then there are other folks who just refuse to comply with the law. And you said there were a number of factors that you would look at. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about those, and the factors that you gave at the time were the history, the age of the defendant, their current situation, their education, whether they're mental health issues or substance use disorder issues. So could you just talk a little bit more about how you would look at the factors in determining sentences? Because as I told you, I think that the benefit of incarceration, to the extent that there can be one, tends to be achieved pretty quickly. And you had some really good insights about that I found invaluable. So if you could just share that.
Sure, and thank you for allowing me that opportunity. It's important to get to know people and know their circumstances. It's hard to, I don't think it's an effective way to judge people if you don't know them. You don't know what they're dealing with and what sort of issues they're carrying with them. So for me, that's always a driving force in making any determination. What exactly is this person dealing with? Who is that person? What sort of history do they have? And you have to look at everyone as an individual. And you have to meet them where they are. Some people, they're just not ready. People change at different points in your life. Sometimes it's something triggers it. Sometimes it's just a question of maturity. But everybody is not always in the same place. People are at different stages or different points. And if you can try to at least get a sense as to where they are and what you can do to try and push them in the direction you're trying to get them, then I think you will have a much better outcome, because you're making that connection. And I think it's important to connect with anyone you're dealing with. You really need to try to have them appreciate that you're looking at them as a person, you're appreciating them for who they are, and that you're trying to understand how you can help them to make better choices and to, lead a better life.
I have the highest confidence in you. I look forward to voting to confirm the nomination.
I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Good to
Is
see
it
you.
third time here or?
Third time on behalf of myself.
Yeah, no, you've been on the parole board, give or take 12 years. Tell me your sense of the parole board today. I know you're going to the district court, but maybe you can be a little more upfront because you're leaving the parole board. What are your thoughts on the parole board, and do you have any suggestions or one big change you think the parole board could do?
As far as addressing change with the parole board, I kind of shy away from really delving into that because I think out of respect for the governor and her decisions, that's something I should at least at a minimum address with her if she inquired. The parole board is doing a lot of good things. They're making a lot of progress with respect to the workload we're dealing with. We have a lot of new cases coming on board there. There's a lot of work, and we're actually getting through it at a more than expected pace with respect to a lot of the maddest cases coming on board, for instance. I think we've addressed at least 70% of those matters. And I don't think the expectation that we would be reaching them so swiftly. Parole board has a lot of work. And we're at a time now where there's a lot of things we have to do, and with newer board members coming on and trying to get up to speed, that can be somewhat challenging. But with the experience, I think things will pick up even better.
Over the years, a complaint that I've heard about the parole board is that at parole hearings, there've been members of the parole board who delve into the crime. Okay, I mean, I've always been one to believe that has someone been rehabilitated, okay, as opposed to going over the case. Do you feel that over the years there's been some members, I'm not going to put you on the spot as to who, do you think there's been some members who get too into the facts of the crime as opposed to rehabilitation?
There can be an overemphasis on the crime, and I think the purpose of delving into the crime should not be about retrying the case. It's to get a sense as to how accountable they are and how they feel with respect to the changes they've made in their lives. I think accountability plays a role in a parole decision, and sometimes you have to address it. I mean, most times, because the crime is very relevant. And we do have victims there, and they're in this process so that they can get some sort of understanding as to why this crime occurred. So I think that's an important point, but I think if you start focusing too much on the crime and you lose sight as to why we're there to decide whether or not that person is suitable for release based upon what they've done and what they've demonstrated through their behavior. So I would not want to lose sight of that. That should be the main focus. But at the same time, it's an important consideration. The crime and how you respond to questions concerning that tells us a lot about where you are in that process of rehabilitation.
Is it fair to say you agree with me that it shouldn't be the #1 issue at a parole hearing?
No, I totally agree.
Okay.
It should not be.
I agree. Let me ask this. I have been a strong advocate of voting for people on the parole board with social science background. You got Dr. Bonner here, who is phenomenal. To me, I mean, you're great, but she's unbelievable.
Public relations.
She's fantastic. I'm a believer that we should have fewer. Okay, I know we had someone a couple of months ago. I am the biggest advocate, at least I think, and my vote proves it. I am less for law enforcement backgrounds and more for social science backgrounds. Question, do you think we have enough people on the parole board with social science backgrounds, or we could use more?
That's a tough,
That's why I asked you if it was easy, I wouldn't ask you.
yes, and I can appreciate your concern with social science background because it certainly helps to educate the board in considering a lot of issues out there. You know, but I appreciate the board being diverse as well. I think we need people with social science backgrounds. I think we need attorneys. I think, well, I'll leave it at that, but
So you don't want to, and I appreciate it. I don't want to put you on the spot, even though I feel like I am. I personally feel we have too many people with law enforcement backgrounds. If it were me, I would rather have more people on the parole board today with a social science background. You don't have to answer that, but that's my feeling, and my votes in the past have proven that. That's I'm a strong believer about that. People talk about it, you know, words are cheap. They talk about it, but when the votes come before the council, I say enough is enough is enough. We need more people on that parole board with social science backgrounds. That's just me. No, I don't have any further questions. You got the right attitude. You're a man of compassion. I've known you for a number of years. This is a long time coming. I think you're going to be a great addition to the district court. And I look forward to putting your name before the council at the next meeting.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That will conclude the hearing, and thank you for all for coming. Thank you.
have you here. We will read our letter from the governor. Dear counselors, I am pleased to nominate Mark Fabiano to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. I submit this nomination for advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Sincerely, Maura Healy. And today we have with us today, Counselor Dolan, Counselor Ferreira, Counselor Kennedy, Counselor DiPaolo, and Counselor Jacobs. And would you like to introduce your first witness?
Sure, I would. The Honorable First Justice Thomas Finnegan, First Justice of the Rentham District Court.
Thank you.
With that, line up to be inspected. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. I'm Thomas Finnegan, First Justice of Rentham District Court. I was confirmed in this room, I guess, or back in 2013. So I've been a judge since 2013. Prior to that, I was an assistant district attorney in Norfolk County. And that's where I had the opportunity, serving as an ADA, to work alongside Mark Fabiano. There have been a number of judges that have come out of that office, all the years that we worked under Bill Keating, First Justice Jean Marie Carroll from the Dedham District Court, First Justice Michelle Moore from the Attleboro District Court, Judge Courtney Lenahan, Judge Jack Stapleton, and I'm confident that Judge Fabiano will be an asset to add to that list. Mark left the DA's office before I did to go into private practice. Our paths crossed again in 2017 when I became the first justice at the district court. At that time, Mark was serving as a bar advocate, representing indigent clients before me. So I got the opportunity to see Mark in action, so to speak, on almost a daily basis, dealing with his clients, other defense attorneys, prosecutors, witnesses, just all the people that come through the courthouse door on any given day in a busy district court. I've always struck by his patience and understanding, of course, his unflappable demeanor, as I'm sure you have heard from other people that you have spoken to. 2 years after that, Mark's role changed again when he became assistant clerk magistrate in the Rentham District Court. So again, had the opportunity to watch him in action on weekly, several times a week basis when he served as my session clerk. And once again, serving as a session clerk sort of acts as a buffer in a lot of ways from the judge and has to deal with the public. And sort of one of Mark's many strengths is his ability to sort of keep things in perspective, not lose his cool, and make sure that everybody has time to be heard. I do think that in the role of the district court, provide access to the public. It's really a community court, and the former chief of the trial court, Judge Paula Carey, a few years back, instituted a mission statement for the trial court, which is to provide justice with dignity and speed. Short phrase that easy to say, but not always easy to put in action. And I think that, you can have the legal mind of a Supreme Court justice, but if you don't have the ability to listen to people, hear what they have to say and make a timely decision, you won't be effective district court judge. So I know you'll hear from other people here this morning that will tell you that Mark's, patience and understanding and his unflappable nature is really unmatched. Sometimes on Fridays, I'll stick my head in the second session with the clerks, like Mark, conducting small claims trials. And even though it's small amounts of controversy, things can get heated in those types of hearings. And I'll see Mark in action and know that he's giving everybody the opportunity to be heard, not losing his cool, and rendering a fair result. It'll be a big loss to Rentham District Court if Mark is confirmed, but I think that loss will be offset by the benefit to the public. And I know I speak on behalf of my fellow district court judges that have worked with him in various capacities over the years that we would welcome to add him to the district court bench. So thank you very much for your time. I'll answer any questions if you have any questions.
Thank you for your statement. Counselors, any questions?
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
And your second witness, please.
Magistrate of the Rentham District Court, Pamela Govin Fernandez.
Well, I'm not as good as Judge Finnegan, so I had to write down my remarks, so bear with me here. So, like Judge Finnegan, I was actually confirmed in this room just about 3 years ago. I'm forever grateful for that, and I do appreciate and respect the work that you do in this chamber. But today it is with great pleasure that I speak on behalf of Mark Fabiano for the position of District Court Judge. During the past 3 years, I've had the absolute pleasure of working with Mark on a daily basis. I've come to know Mark as a man who is a dedicated father, husband, gentleman, and true public servant. In my role as clerk magistrate, I trust Mark implicitly with all responsibilities associated with the work we do in the clerk's office, including knowledge of all things IT. Mark's background as a former prosecutor and practicing attorney in both criminal and civil matters give him the ability to issue prompt, fair, and comprehensive decisions on matters including complaints, search warrants, and small claims trials. I've witnessed Mark conduct hearings and trials using his knowledge of the law and procedure, all the while keeping his composure and an unruffled temperament. Mark has an uncanny ability to diffuse high-stress situations, even when delivering decisions that may not be favorable, as does Judge Finnegan, I would add. Mark has an incredible work ethic, and his decisions are thorough, based in law, and always done in a timely manner. He is often sought out by his coworkers, attorneys, police officers, and members of the public for his guidance in navigating anything from the nuances of a day in court to the most complex legal issues. He is fair, dignified, and empathetic to all people he encounters, especially members of the public and pro se litigants. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you a quick story about Mark. Mark was clerking a busy session in the Rentham District Court, and Judge Finnegan was on the bench, and a former client of Mark, basically he was an old timer with a very minor charge, also very hard of hearing, stood up in the middle of the courtroom while session was going and started yelling and waving, "Mark, Mark, it's me." Are you, he continued to say, "Are you still in Dedham?" Which is where Mark's office was. "And can I talk to you about this case?" And Mark, without missing a beat, basically calmed the court user down, explained that he worked in Rentham District Court now. And without further disruption, he and Judge Finnegan were able to move on to the next case. Simply put, Mark embodies the trial court mission, and his knowledge of the law, common sense, and compassion will make him an outstanding district court judge. And just briefly, outside of court, Mark is an active participant in his community. He's a member of local boards, including the YMCA and the Substance Abuse Coalition at King Philip High School. He is a youth soccer coach in his hometown in Norfolk, and he never misses a game, recital, or dance with his two daughters, Lucy and Emily, or an anniversary dinner with his beautiful wife, Jen. Mark's humanity is apparent in all aspects of his life. I feel so lucky to call Mark a friend and a colleague, and I can't begin to tell you how much he will be missed in the clerk's office and in every other department at Rentham District Court. I suspect everyone in Rentham District Court is trying to watch this hearing right now. And on a personal note, I'll miss his positive twist to all things big or small. I'm so proud to recommend him for a district court judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your statement. Counselors, any other questions?
Thank you.
Is there anyone in opposition? Having none, okay. And Mark, I'll give you the honor to introduce your friends and family here today, following your opening statement.
At the end is my beautiful wife Jennifer Fabiano, my sister Gina Fabiano, my stepmother Noel McCoy, my father Jack Fabiano is here, my brother Dan Fabiano is here, my sister-in-law Amy Fabiano is here. And then you've got my witnesses. Oh, and over here we have John Maloney, Assistant Clerk Magistrate, Rentham District Court, and the first Assistant Clerk Magistrate of the Rentham District Court, Leslie Hazeldine. Thank you.
Start your opening statements.
Thank you. All right, first I want to thank Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for their trust in nominating me. I want to thank the members of the Governor's Council for the important work that you do. It's an honor to appear here before you today, and I've really enjoyed getting to know many of you over the last few weeks. I want to thank Jesse Boudou, Governor's Chief Legal Counsel, and Derek Hesselheim, who's over there, Deputy Chief Legal Counsel, for your wisdom, advice, and guidance. Thank you to Sonia Altamirano and her team for helping shepherd me through this process. I want to thank my witnesses, Judge Finnegan and Clerk Magistrate Fernandez, for their kind words, or for their friendship and their support. I learned so much from working with you. I want to thank my friends and colleagues from the Rentham District Court, Leslie Hazeldine, John Maloney, and anyone else who's watching on the live stream right now. Very fortunate to work with all of you. All the departments work together with a common goal, providing excellent access to justice for all. But more than anyone, I want to acknowledge my family. 2009, I married my amazing wife, Jennifer. It's the best thing I've ever done. Jen is my best friend, and she's the glue that holds our family together. We have two daughters, Lucy and Emily. Raising them is my greatest joy, and they're my greatest source of pride. I learn something from them every day. They're so mature and responsible that they actually passed on a free day off from school today. My parents are here, my stepmother, Noel McCoy, and my father, Jack Fabiano. Jack practiced law for nearly 50 years. I may be a little bit biased, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who would disagree with me when I say that he was one of the best trial lawyers in Boston. More than that, though, he's an incredible father and grandfather. He's always been an endless source of support and encouragement for his family. My siblings are here, Gina and Dan, and my sister-in-law, Amy. Gina does important work with children as a mental health counselor, and Dan and Amy are both talented lawyers and loving parents to my niece and nephew, Nora and Miles. Yes, there are a lot of lawyers in my family. So when the time comes to ask me questions, if you address me as Attorney Fabiano, don't be surprised if full sets of eyes look up ready to answer the question. My path to this moment was not a straight line. When I was in the 9th grade, after a brief illness, my mother Susan passed away from breast cancer. Our family suffered an enormous loss, and we wondered how we could continue on. During that period, I found it very difficult to focus on academics and extracurricular activities as I had before her illness, and my school performance declined. I dropped out of college my junior year, and I took a year off to find myself. I worked and I traveled, and eventually I was able to right the ship. Excuse me. I went back to school, I studied hard, I made Phi Beta Kappa, and I was accepted to and graduated from Tulane. In the district court, we're often dealing with people who suffered trauma in their lives. It's important to remember that you never really know what's going on with a person in anyone's life, and to hold them to a standard of behavior without knowing their circumstances is very rare. My own experiences have taught me how critical it is to have empathy, patience, and understanding. If given the chance, people can rebound and improve their lives. Confirmed, I'll bring that perspective to the bench every day. I spent nearly my entire career in the district court. District court is the community court that serves the people of the community on the ground floor. It's where victims of domestic violence seek the protection of 209A abuse prevention orders. Where concerned family members of those who have lost the power of control over drugs and alcohol seek court-ordered Section 35 commitments. Many times these commitments literally save people's lives. District court is where victims of crime obtain redress for wrongs, where people who have lost their way and been charged with crimes can be connected with social services to get back on track. I've had the privilege of seeing the work of the court from multiple viewpoints. As an ADA, I learned how to be a lawyer, how to be a zealous advocate, but to always play by the rules, not to take shortcuts, and to be fair. I learned how crime can affect victims and their families. As a criminal defense lawyer, I became more aware of criminal defendants as people. They weren't just the name at the top of my case folder. They were someone's child, someone's parent, sibling, neighbor, coworker. Many of my clients over the years suffered from substance use disorders. Many had mental health issues. Most had suffered some sort of trauma in their lives. When the district court works best, it gives these folks a chance to get back to being better people by working on the root causes that landed them in court in the first place. As an assistant clerk magistrate adjudicating cases from a neutral position, I no longer advocate for a client. But working in the clerk's office, we're often the first place court users go when entering the building. I know that many of them are having the worst day or year of their lives. My job often involves delivering bad news to people in the court, that a loved one has been held on bail or is being transported to another court in answer to a warrant. Even if they're not happy with the information I'm providing, they appreciate being treated with patience, respect, and empathy. To quote my favorite fictional detective, Harry Bosch, everybody counts or nobody does. Unless we treat every person equally with the same respect, dignity, and access to justice, the system fails. I am and will remain committed to making sure that all people are treated fairly by the court, without regard to their background, race, socioeconomic status, gender identity, religion, or sexual preference. I appreciate your time and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might.
Thank you for that beautiful statement. Now we'll start off with our Counselor Ferreira.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. You and I had a very lengthy conversation. I appreciate all your service that you've done to the Commonwealth. You have three great fans over here that I know, the judge, Representative Markey, and Clerk Garvin, who I highly respect. I don't know if they got introduced earlier, but they're great people and they're fans of yours, which speaks volumes to me. So I already told you I don't speak for the sake of speaking. I will be voting for you next week. I think you're gonna make a great judge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Dolan.
Thank you. I'll be brief too, though not as brief as Councilor.
Not many are.
We appreciate him so much. I really appreciated your taking the time to speak with me. I really enjoyed and valued our conversation. I commended you then and will commend you now for getting your undergraduate degree in philosophy. We need more philosophers. I appreciate that you've been both the district attorney and the defense attorney, so you've really had a chance to see things from both sides. You mentioned in your statement having empathy, patience, and understanding. Those things are all so important. So I just want to ask you about one thing that we talked about, which is seeing people, defendants appearing before you who suffer from a substance use disorder or an alcohol use disorder. My experience being a defense attorney is that oftentimes judges lose patience, and it's understandable because I see the same person coming back in and back in and back in, but we need to understand that they're suffering from a disability. Their brains are not functioning and they really can't help it. So as difficult as it is, we can't lose patience. I think if suffering cured addiction, no one would have one. So we talked about that. If you could just talk about, your approach to defendants who are suffering from a substance use disorder or an alcohol use disorder.
I think substance use disorder is probably the biggest driver of business to the district court. I think it's really important for judges to recognize that substance use disorder is a disease. I've worked with enough clients over the years to know that treatment doesn't always take the first time someone gets into the treatment. So, right. So sometimes to actually enter recovery, it may be the first time, the second time, the third time. And I think we provide better justice to people in the district court when the judges recognize that and they understand that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Further questions?
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I don't have any questions. A lot of distinguished people here. Your counselor, big supporter. Once your name was submitted, she called me and she said he's special. And I think you are. I liked your presentation. Education. I like the way you had a few bumps on the way and you recovered. You're doing well. So when your name comes before us next week, you can count on me.
Thank you very much, Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor Iannella. Counselor Kennedy.
I'm sure your father could look proud of it's possible. You got some great people here, the Chief Justice, Clerk, Representative Markey, who over the decades has been a very, very strong supporter of this body. Not everybody in the legislature is, but he's certainly one of our biggest supporters. certainly means a lot, and my friend. I've known you since the day you started in this business. We've had cases together. But you wish you gave me that quaff now. Well, and, you know, you're a home run. I don't have to ask you questions because I already know what you are. I've dealt with you as a clerk. I've dealt with you as a DA. So, and I have to mention my very, very good friend who has been haunting me about you for years is Judge Kelly, as you know, Michelle Kelly. Has been torturing me actually about it. Hopefully just to get rid of her. What's that? Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, Counselor Kennedy. Counselor DePaulo?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations on your nomination. We had a good conversation yesterday, and I've heard from other folks about you. I thought your statement and the things we heard from your witnesses, the questions that already have been asked, you understand what people in the district court are going through. I think you are able to balance pragmatism with justice and with public safety. We had a short conversation in particular about veterans issues and about veterans going through our courts, and there are some specialty veterans courts in the Commonwealth, but you even were able to share a client in particular who kind of fit in that category and the struggles that person had faced. So I have no reservation about supporting you. You're an easy vote, so I look forward to supporting you when the time comes.
Thank you very much.
Counselor.
Thank you. Counselor Jacobs?
Thank you. I'll echo the congratulations. And we had a really good conversation when you came out. I appreciated that you came and gave so much of your time, and we explored a lot. I got to know you, I think, pretty well. I'm not going to ask you a ton of questions, but I'm going to ask one question that I introduced at the last hearing that I think it would be good to hear just the balance of your thoughts around it. In that particular hearing, Councillor Kennedy had introduced the issue surrounding 58As and delved in. His line of question was a little different than mine, but mine centers around 58As and the racial disparities, the data that has shown exist in when prosecutors bring those forward and the outcomes there. And so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to share. Are you aware of that trend that's been revealed with some statistical assessments, and what are your thoughts around what, if anything, from the bench you might be able to do to course correct?
Actually, a really good question. I'm not aware of any statistics, but I can't say that I'm entirely surprised. I think whenever the legislature gives power to a prosecutor to make prosecutorial decisions, they have to be in a race neutral way. And when they're not, I think it's the court's responsibility to step in and try to in any way that the court can. And whether that's bringing that to the attention of the prosecutors that that's happening, maybe having a sidebar conversation saying, look, there's another similarly situated person who was not a part of this group. And you did not move for dangerousness on that case. I think that's something that might go a long way towards trying to resolve those sorts of issues.
No, I very much appreciate it. And what I said the last hearing, I believe to be true, so I'll just share it with you, but I do believe in the position rise to to be able to shine a light and to bring awareness, and with implicit biases, bringing it to conscious level, and being a beacon of, making it clear to those who are coming into your court that you care and you notice, I think could be a big lever for change in terms of just bringing more thoughtfulness to when and why are we doing a thing, which hopefully would have an outcome to improve those kinds of trends. But no, I appreciate it. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Jacobs. Mark, congratulations again. It was a pleasure meeting with you, sitting down and having some meaningful conversation. You definitely possess the qualifications to become a judge, and I'm looking forward to voting for you. But also I know that being an assistant clerk, in that department within itself is the backbone of the court. And it's the one that makes the court goes forward. A lot of different people coming to you from all walks of life, issues, restraining orders, harassment orders, any any issues, a person usually stops at the clerk's office, and to know that you have worked there and is able to delegate and make sure that the courtroom, and making sure that judges have the docket and all the informations are inside the folder to make sure that the judges can determine what needs to be done during that hearing session is really important. And I know we have some things in common, where we are on the board of the YMCA. I would like for you to share your experience and what you've learned and how you think it's important for you to be with the YMCA, but also being able to be in a position to share and understand other people within the community once you become a judge.
Thank you for that question. I think it's really important that judges are integrated into their communities, and whether that's, working with children. For me, it's coaching. That's another people, trying to teach them sportsmanship and things about the game and how to be a good teammate. Working at the YMCA or working for the King Philip Substance Abuse Committees. I think it's really important that judges don't be that judges aren't this paternalistic figure sitting on the bench, sending people to jail. I think people in the community need to understand what the resources are of the court, that those are people too, and that the court is there to help them.
Thank you. And also, what I admired about our conversation is that you shared, the loss of your mother. And I know she's shining upon you now, looking at you, and and I know how traumatic that was for you at the time. But we talked about how trauma looks differently for everyone. And you will be dealing with people with traumatic experience and how to understand and be empathetic and to know, when it's the right time to give people the opportunity to not only advocate for themselves, but making sure that they have the resources and access that they need in order to be able to be contributing members into society. So I have no doubt in my mind that you will be a great judge because of your experience, because you know how it feels. And you know that people are coming in at a vulnerable time in their lives in the courtroom. So again, congratulations, and thank you for everyone who is here to support him. And I'm going to vote for you next week. All right, and this hearing has been adjourned. Now it's 11:30.
go ahead and call us to order, and I'd like to recognize Counselor Civil for moment of prayer and for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. This is a word of encouragement to our community and constituents and our leaders with this federal shutdown that's happening today. In times of uncertainty, like the federal government shutdown, it's natural to feel frustration, confusion, and concern. But it's also a time for us as a community to come together with compassion, resilience, and stand 10 toes down to what we believe in and to make sure that we are fighting for our liberty and our rights. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
which stands one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice.
for all.
Jesse or Dara, would you keep it down up there? Please, thank you. If they can. I'd like to recognize Counselor Kennedy for a motion to record advice and consent for the financial warrant.
So move, Governor, if there's any money left after the federal cuts.
No, it's dwindling. Motion's been made, seconded by Counselor Inell. All those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. I'd like to recognize Counselor DiPaolo for a motion to record advice and consent for the pending list of notaries public and justices of the peace. So moved. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Dolan. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. I'd like to recognize Counselor Ferreira for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Timothy Huran to the position of Associate Justice of the Probate and Family Court.
Excellent nominee. Thank you for nominating him, and I'm glad to make that motion.
Excellent. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Kennedy. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I would ask Sonia to please call the roll.
Counselor Ferrer,
Yes.
Counselor Civil. Yes. Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
Counselor Ayala,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor DePaulo,
Yes.
Counselor Jacobs. Yes.
7 members voting, 7 in the affirmative, the matter carries. Next up, I'd like to recognize Counselor Dolan for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Lionel Jean Pierre Jr. to the position of Associate Justice, also of Probate and Family Court.
Very proud to make that motion. He's an extraordinary, I know he'll serve very well.
Excellent. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor DiPaolo. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd ask Sonia to please call the roll.
Counselor Dolan,
Yes.
Counselor Ayala,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor DePaulo,
Yes.
Counselor Jacobs. Yes. Counselor Ferreira.
Yes.
Counselor Civil. Yes.
7 members voting, 7 in the affirmative, the matter carries. And we've got a couple of other items that we would like to work on today. Two other candidates following hearings today. I'd like to recognize Counselor Ianella for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Tonomey Coleman to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court.
appointment.
Awesome. Motion's been made by Counselor Ianella. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Kennedy. Any further comments or questions?
So I think he is a fantastic nominee. He is gonna serve well on the district court, I am sure. However, I cannot vote positively for him today because I oppose this trend that has happened lately of us voting immediately after a hearing on a nominee. I value the input of those who first hear of a nomination when our hearings are held and do reach out. And I value the work we do as being important, significant, meaningful, and confirming people to lifelong appointments to the bench. So for all of those reasons, I just want to share my objection to the procedurals. And for that reason, it is not a reflection on the candidate himself. I have nothing but wonderful things to say. But for that reason, I wanted to share my.
Thank you, Counselor Jacobs. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd ask Sonia to please help us by calling the roll.
Counselor Ayala,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor DePaulo,
Yes.
Counselor Jacobs. Present. Counselor Ferreira,
Yes.
Counselor Civil. Yes. Counselor Dolan.
Yes.
7 members voting, 6 in the affirmative, 1 voting present, the matter carries. And I'd like to recognize Counselor Civil for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Mark Fabiano to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court.
So moved, and he's also a great appointment to the judicial bench.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Ianella. Any further comments or questions regarding the appointment of Mark Fabiano? Seeing none, I will ask Sonia to please call the roll.
Councilor Siddle,
Yes.
Councilor Dolan,
Yes.
Councilor Yanela,
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor DePaulo,
Yes.
Councilor Jacobs, Councilor Ferrari.
Yes.
That matter will carry with a vote of 6 in the affirmative, 1 member voting present, and that will stand as also an adopted motion. At this time, I think our business is concluded, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor DePaulo, seconded by Councilor Dolan. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.